Ba, 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 ba. Righto. Ba-dum-ba-ba. Ba-dum-ba-ba. Right. Good morning, team. I think we're looking all right. Perfect. Right. Perfect. Righto. G'day, team. I'm sure everyone will start slowly jumping into our into the chat. Where's the dog? He's gone out for a walk with his mum. He might come honing back at some stage. We'll wait and see. He'll come and be the star of the show again. At least he won't be barking in the background today. Little devil, but that's good. Right. Okay. So low rate power strokes. Reason being is that I've partial epiphany. No, not a partial epiphany. I did some research and I was trying to find the technical term for what I try and explain here. When I talk about our hang tension and our ability to be, using this muscle tension, right, in a way of not being contracted. And I found out online that there's two terminologies for it. One is called passive tension, and the other one is called non-contractive tension. Okay, non-contractive tension. And so I was like, there it is, right? Non-contractive tension. So, when we talk about like contracting our muscles, when we say lifting weights or lifting some firewood, you name it, bit of concrete bags here and there, whatever it is, right? We're contracting our muscles. Whereas the tension that we're trying to create when we're on the rowing machine is non-contractive, okay, especially in our upper body. And so I thought that we'll do low rate power strokes because that'll help us to develop the feeling, right, of what we're trying to achieve. And this will be probably the easiest way for us to work on it. And it's something that we obviously have to work on, all the time and that type of thing, because that's what rowing involves. Is a continuous work in progress, right? We have to keep working on all our stuff and keep focused on it, keep writing or reading the novel in our head of everything that happens in the duration of one stroke, basically in its entirety. And so we'll be able to work on that today because we're using the machine and the way that it's been designed and because we've got this resistance. And so the real focus today will be on us thinking about this passive tension or this hang tension or this I call it a hang tension, but this non-contractive tension, okay, which is what we're always trying to work on when we're on this machine, because we're working hard enough, right, as we always bloody do. There's no let up in what we're trying to achieve, but ultimately, this part of the stroke and this non-contractive tension that we talk about, contractive tension is where we're locking the muscles, we've got contraction, and we're really trying to work or hold a specific force or a weight, right, in terms of the ease of explanation. Okay, but then this non-contractive tension, and I should have got one of my straps to show it, is this ability of our muscles being basically stretched out or left out in front of us and not being contractive. Okay, so we're still looking for a tension, right, that is using the muscle strengths. And when I read into it, when we contract, we use the muscle fibers to to contract and to use the ligaments and everything else to then be able to use the strength that's in those muscle fibers to contract, obviously, say if we're going to lift something, whatever. Whereas the non-contractive is where we're letting the fibers be stretched out, all individually, but as a joint unit to then hold weight or force, right? And that's how deep I got into. And so that's basically what we're trying to do on the machine here, because as we're pressing away, and it's quite easy to do when the flywheel's, not moving, is that when we're pressing away, if we're just doing it here, it might be easier with 1 foot if we haven't warmed up, that type of thing, is that this part here is really feeling those fibers in our body, sort of stretched out, but holding as long as they can, okay? And so when we're looking at it in terms of our rowing stroke, is that we want to be able to feel that force in terms of a connection on our muscles, but we're not contracting them in terms of trying to make them feel like they are joining all together and shortening up, which is what happens when we do something like this. All the muscles start to contract and lift. But if we're looking at like how long can we stretch them with the strength that's in our muscle fiber, that is that part there, okay? And that's where we're using the muscle force and the strength in our fibers of this hang pressure here, okay, especially through the first part of the stroke, which is the key to being able to get the force applied throughout the entire stroke, okay? And so the work on it today is going to be this part where we're coming into the front, we're trying to hold that body force and then have that force driven, with these fibers that are doing a little bit more in terms of that contractiveness, okay? And so that's how we want it, the idea of this stroke, and if we use the force curve and stuff like that, is that as we're pushing, we're combining this strength here of this muscle group connected into, our lats, our lower back, with good core stability here, okay, to drive ourselves back. And because one of the main issues or ailments or whatever you want to call it, which is exactly what I see in all the basically in 90% of the gym rowing, is that because we want to feel this connection, right? And it is about feeling the connection, because once we're like somewhere here, we can feel the force. We're like, that's it, I'm being able to push. And of course, the automatic one is to do that, okay, because you got the force on straight away, right? I agree. I'm like, I do this, bang, I've got the force. The force is on. You're a beauty, baby. I feel strong. I can hear the machine. I've got the power. I'm holding it. I'm like, this is great. Pushing numbers, right? But we're not being able to use our potential, which is what we are searching for, right? Because we're limiting ourselves by getting that connection artificially, right? And not being able to then use this part of the stroke, which is our bodies being driven by the legs and creating that acceleration through, okay? Because that's what it is. When we do this, okay, we've got force on, force is applied, that's great, but we don't have an acceleration through the stroke where the flywheel can find its maximum rotation, or, the spinning of that flywheel. And so that's why the part of the stroke, which is the most important, and it is the hardest, and it takes the fucking longest to get right, and it's a never-ending work in progress, is the part around this connection where we come in and we change direction. Because when we talk about this elastic length and we just roll into here, we've got this part here where we have to be able to pick up the speed of the stroke, through here. It is the hardest because there's a change in direction. There's a slip because the flywheel has to get onto the gear, the chain has to get onto the gear. And that's always where we're working, and it is difficult to not think, well, actually, if I just gave it a little bit more, if I just tried to step on it a little bit faster out the front, I'll then start to feel this force, and I'll feel the connection of me or you, or us as individuals onto that flywheel speed and picking up that flywheel, because now we've got it, right? We all know when we've got it and we hear it and we're like, yes, now I can fucking push hard and I can hear the sound of it going, whatever. And that's fine because we're, 95% of it's correct. We're working hard. We're doing great stuff for our fitness and all that type of thing. Okay, but we're not quite getting to where we have our potential, in terms of that speed and that acceleration through. And so that's why with the power strokes, because the when it's easy now, right? Because once the flywheel basically is stationary, when we come to the front, it's such an easy way to pick it up, right? It's just, you can roll in and just go, I'm onto it there. And you're just like, oh, great, that's the feeling. But once the machine's spinning and the flywheel's rolling over at X number, 100 revolutions a minute or whatever it is, that's where we have this part in here, from here to here or wherever it is for our own stroke, is where we have to be able to get back onto the speed of the gear. And that's why it's difficult, because the easiest way to do it, obviously, is to just automatically do that. And we've started more force at the start of the stroke by using that body or whatever or grabbing with our arms to get onto that flywheel, rather than accepting that there's this fraction of a second, the small distance out the front here where we have to accept, but then take that pressure, okay, and then come through that stroke with our whole body. And so that's why using the low rate power strokes that we're going to do today, we can keep focused on that feeling, okay? We can keep thinking about this flywheel and the pickup, this piece out the front, this take-up period, however long or short it will be. But as we get through each of these steps, okay, and as you'll see here, I've written, 10 to 15, because ultimately if you're on, say, 5 or 6 already, you're going to start getting up towards 10, and I don't know if we need to go that high. I think that's just a little bit hard on the old skeletal system and stuff for what we're trying to do. So as long as we're up around, 7, 8, 9 by the time we finish, just figure out how many changes you need to do on your damper setting for us to get to that period, okay? Hence why I've put sort of 10 to 15, because we know that roughly 15 on the drag setting, if we're using the monitor, is one number, okay? And so that's what we'll do today. So the main focus around what we're trying to do today, once we get into it, we'll warm up. The first one, we're just going to take our time and just have an identification of what's happening out the front, okay? Start to think about trying to just really leave these hands out the front, not trying to take it up into our shoulders or into our arms or, to get this connection. And then as we use the drag setting, which is ultimately releasing the air of the flywheel, and so it means that by the time we get back to the front, the flywheel revolution has slowed tremendously, and it'll get more and more as we go through this session. That because of that, we'll find that our pickup part around here will be a lot closer to this end point or this change in direction point that we have at the front of the catch. Okay, so that's the main goal and the idea of what we're trying to do today. But as I say, I can't say non-contractive fucking tension all the time. That's why I talk about this hang tension, our ability to just hang this weight out the front, and it's if you had somebody, there with you or whatever, and they were holding this handle out the front, or if you tied a rope to here and to there, trying to push away from that, You know, we can't go like this, or we try and use this body to get that feeling. We want to really just feel about this muscle hang and this passive tension or non-contracted tension, which is why we use the word hang tension, because it's more relevant to what we're doing. Okay, we are really just hanging here. And because we use psychology and we use the way that we describe things, that hanging, you know, effectively hanging, you know, we're hanging off something, but we're just doing it in this horizontal motion. So we're just hanging in this position here, and we're using that core and the body part through here. So as we take up with the hang, okay, and we've got the drive, and then we can start to really use that body through the motion of our stroke. Okay, so that's what we're going to work on. I think we work on it all the time because it is probably the hardest part to get right and to keep working. And there's so many aspects about it. You know, we don't quite get set up into the front. We don't quite get to pick up. You know, you can see why it's a really difficult thing to keep working on, because there's so many aspects we've got to try and get right. You know, which in order for us to then get to this potential that we're able to achieve. Okay, so those are the focuses. We've got 6 5-minute pieces. The first one and the last one are at normal drag, and the ones in between, the 4 in between, we're just going to increase it every time. Okay, so we're really just keeping it on the same rating just to get our rhythm. 22, I think 22 is a nice rating. We've got enough flow, we've got enough rhythm to be able to think about our movements. You know, we've got to keep thinking about moving it along, that type of thing. Okay, rather than it being a little bit lower where we're probably going to start, you know, trying to muscle it along. We've got to think about this rhythm at the same time. Okay, so lots to think about. Don't get me wrong, I apologise. But that's really what we're going to try and achieve today. Okay, so let's jump in. Let's get warmed up, ready for session. Just chuck that down there. Thankfully, no issues with this bloody internet at the moment. I don't know what it is. I've had problems all weekend. My sport kept crapping out, and I'm like, come on, I'm trying to watch rugby here. Rugby and golf. Okay, so as always, get ourselves comfortable, get ourselves loose and elastic, okay? And it's one thing I always try and do when I'm starting in these warm-ups, you know, just building our elasticness and our ease of movement. I don't know if you can see it here on screen, but I'm very much in my fingers on the handle, so I can use that hang because I'm not gripping too tight with the handle. I feel that there is a correlation between us choking this handle or being too tight with the hands and what we're doing with this contractiveness, etc., of our muscles. Okay. So just here, just moving along, getting loose, just each stroke feeling this one slip forward, one speed forward on our monorail, just bringing us into this position at the catch, okay? Really feeling our ease of muscle movements, okay, especially on this recovery, to help us that, you know, if we're in these fingers and we're feeling the recoil of the chain, then we're not limiting ourselves by holding it back and then being like, shit, I've got to move quickly. We feel that relationship that we develop, that we have with our machine, okay? And as always, if you want to buy yourself a Christmas present, buy yourself a new bungee for your Concept 2, about $10, Secret Santa. If you do a Secret Santa with someone, they've got a rower, get a new bungee, okay? But really just focusing on this movement that we've got, okay? This patience that we have, this rhythm starting to develop as we get more limber, as we're warming up the blood, flowing into the body, okay? Really nice, patient movement. Good. Nice, okay? Starting to feel now, as we warm up through the warm up, we get our body positioning just nice and easy. This is why it's important to warm up. We can feel better elasticity in our legs, okay? And then we can start feeling how we tie it all together. Okay, good. Good focus and flow. Really nice. Okay. Right, so that should be plenty. Plenty, ready to go. Okay, so those key points. Remembering this continuous, one speed into the front, let the body compress, okay, because as we go up with the pressure, okay, we're not going to have this as much feeling of acceleration through the drive, with those legs driving the bodies. So keep focused on the fact that the draw with those handles is going to feel slightly more lethargic, or slower. We're not going to have the speed into with the hands. So we're going to just continue holding that draw, okay? Hence why the Power Strokes does a whole combination of work for us, which is why it's great to have part of your program. But remembering that because we're trying to find this singular rating, our ratio from drive speed to recovery speed will slightly get skewed as we go through this, because when we have it on normal, and we're sitting on sort of 22, we've got a nice speed here, and then we've got this one speed that we create into the front to get us the 22 rating, okay? Whatever speed it's going to take us to get in, which is why we, once we're into this rhythm, we figure out what that is. But then as we get further and further up here, the drive's not going to feel as accelerated. So then we've got to keep thinking about this movement of the hands and the treble speed that we've got forward to then get us into that position to be able to be compressed with our body naturally in a good position to then feel this hang tension as we press away, okay? And if we get it right, we'll really feel the forces of the muscles being non-contractively tension, okay, this hang tension, okay, where the muscles are just getting drawn out like this rather than trying to be compressed to hold on to what we're trying to do, okay? So let's rock and roll. It's rock and roll time, baby. Tell you what, she's hot today here. It's bloody nearly 8:40 in the morning and she's hot. Okay, select workout, new workout, intervals time. Okay, let's just take that up to 5 minutes. Set that rest period to 1. Leave that flashing. Okay. Quick drink, quick setup. Rock and roll time, baby. Okay. So let's press that checkbox. First one, normal drag. We go up every other time. We go back to normal drag, which will be significantly different by the time we get there. That's going to be perfect. Right, here we go. Okay, right. Sitting nice and ready, patient, elastic. Are you ready? Attention. Go. And right from that first stroke, feel the hang. We'll be natural with our rhythm to get to this 22. Okay, with enough speed in terms of our rate to be patient, to have nice speed, nice rhythm. Okay, really good. Okay, so focus on our body movements here, our posture. Okay, good. Nice. Okay, feel those relaxation in the legs, on the recovery. We create our handle path from around the finish. Okay, there. And then our body positioning, starting to change the angle. Okay, good. And just really focusing on this hang. Okay, good. And long arms. Hang out in front as we press away with the pressure on the feet. Legs creating that drive. And then through that drive, once that speed of the flywheel starts accelerating, that body is being driven through the stroke. Okay, nice. Good press. Good hang. And being continuous. Okay? This is our rhythm that we're going to hold basically the entire workout. But it will change on us because of the resistance. But we feel the basics of it now. Create the benchmark. Okay, good. Think about our roll in. Hands are leading and being drawn. And we can press. Natural length. Good. Okay. So, good start. Good thoughts. Okay, thinking about what we're doing. Getting some points, identifying how we're doing it. Okay. So we'll take up our drag factor. Okay. So there's a little bit more resistance, which means we hold this hang, we hold the drive, but think about our rhythm around the finish, moving in, and our recovery. Okay, so straight away, loosen those hands with having good connection without grabbing, so that we can keep identifying this hang feeling. Good. Right, leaving those arms out long. We can feel a natural stability in our core, okay, to hold ourselves in position. You know, if we're trying to be artificial, you know, we tend to be quite, you know, stiff and rigid, rather than being like, yeah, I'm sitting, really good posture. I can feel the engagement through all the muscle groups on the drive. I've got no tension up here in my shoulders. It's been hung under the armpits. And then I'm creating a rhythm. I'm pressing the feet. I can feel the body being swung through the drive. Okay, the hands are holding this draw, the elbows past the body. Okay, good. So, hands, feet, and seat. The 3 connection points. Feel the hands in the seat, moving at similar speed out of the front. Means we've got the core, we're holding it. We can then use that body size and torso once we hear and feel that speed of the flywheel starting to accelerate. Good. Okay, good breathing here. Good movement. Okay, long arms. Okay, good. Really nice and patient. Continuous motion. Nice. Okay, good. We just hang. Final part here. Nice. Okay. Here comes the star of the show. Come here, Benji. Okay, so number 3, going up a little bit more. So that feeling we're going to have out of the drive, okay, it's going to feel a little bit longer, a little bit more hang, okay, resistance of creating that speed of the flywheel. Hey, buddy, how are you? Right, here we go. Moving in. Now, hey, you should be able to feel it straight away. Remember, just leave the hands out long. Try and resist the temptation to really grab, or feel the hands sort of taking that sort of take up, okay? Try and be loose in them and use the finger strength as another thought point. Okay? Just think about this for this first minute or so, just our posture. Okay, we can feel that the flywheel is starting to not really want an acceleration. Okay, well, it's hard to create a definitive acceleration, but if we're driving our body through, it will come with it. Okay. Nice speed. Good relaxation. Roll forward. Okay. Our recovery. We sit up, we roll. No energy, okay? Minimal energy there.
We're preparing ourselves here, being natural. And then we use our energy on the drive. Good. Okay. Feel our hang. Let's feel like we're leaving that handle away or pushing away from it. Good. Nice. Good. Okay. Brush that body. Hands around. Back onto the rhythm. Elastic compression. Good. Feel the hands and the fingers. We have pressure on the feet. Leg muscles are driving. We're connected through the core with our posture. Being supple, natural with our posture, okay? Not being like, I've got to be stiff, you know. Have nice stability and with our muscles, but not tense, okay? We've got a rhythm, a flow. Continuous motion, okay, good. Nice. Okay. So we can feel that resistance creeping in, okay? That sort of longer feeling of pressure because we don't quite have that acceleration through the stroke, okay? So we've got two more of these. So keep that hang, okay? Keep the focus on what we're trying to achieve. This ability to hang. Not going to have that same acceleration into here, but we keep it, we hold it through. Okay, moving now. Okay. So, be elastic. Find our rhythm to start, which is that drive. Really stay under these armpits. With the hang. Okay, hold that draw. Probably only feel it, you know, if we try and work it too hard into the finish, we're going to do that. But if we use that drive in the body, we're going to draw it. We're going to brush the body. And then we're going to feel the speed of the recovery that we need to manage and hold. Okay. Good. Okay, sitting in good posture, compressed in nice natural position. Feel the smooth change in direction. Okay, and hang. Through the body. Okay, you can already feel it doesn't feel like there's an acceleration. But you're trying to feel this hang, keep the pressure in the legs, transfer with the body. Through the drive. Okay, good. Nice. Really good. Really good. Okay, good hang. Okay, breathe. Stay loose, shake it out. And feel this hang, feel this push. Suspended through the body, okay? Nice. Nice pressure on the drive. Long arms. Okay. Last minute here. Good. Keep it low. Fix. All the hands and the feet. One smooth press through the drive. Okay, good. Okay, so you can really see how that feeling on the drive, don't want to use the word laboured, but it is sort of the feeling, right? It's just sort of like, because there's that extra resistance limiting us from being able to create the swing from that acceleration, okay? So, one last change here, okay? This is going to feel quite heavy, okay? But don't fall into the heavy trap, okay? Fall into the resistance trap. Keep things moving. Okay, here we go. Now, be elastic. Might not need to, you know, get so far out with the length. But first and foremost, we are hanging. Okay? Nice long arms. Under the armpit. Hands, feet, and seat. Still driving the body back. Okay, use this resistance to leave the arms out long. Non-contractive tension, hang tension. Increase that speed through the drive. It's the push. Letting the body be driven through the middle. Nice core, stability, posture. Good. Okay, breathe. Take out all tension. Unnecessary. Breathe. Relax the face. Good. Hands. Leave them long. Good. Elastic length. Sit up. Feel the seat. One speed. Roll underneath. Natural flex in the ankles. Okay. Good. Roll forward. Press. Okay. Right. Last minute under tension. Really feel the hang. Armpits. Relax. Feel the press through the body. Okay. Breathe. 10 strokes left. Okay, long. Elastic. Good. Really nice. Long arms. Beautiful. Okay, so good work. Something on my slide pissing me off, never mind. Just hit that same focus. Okay, we're coming back down to our normal drag. So things are going to feel a lot faster, a lot quicker. Keep the same focus. Oh hell, I hate getting shit on my slide. Oh, it's better. Same focus on that hang, don't revert. Okay, last 5, here we go. Now, wow, love it. Long arms, resist that temptation. Just move with the speed. Okay, good. Use this first minute to just feel our rhythm, feel our posture. Stay long and loose. Extended with these arms. Not literally, but figuratively. Think like the arms are getting drawn out of the sockets because we're leaving those hands out front. Okay. Good. Now, combine that feeling with as we're getting that pressure and that flywheel is building in its speed. The body is being driven by the legs. Okay. Really nice. Good. Feel the hang. Feel the motion of the stroke. Good. Good hang. Elastic compression, setting the body around the finish and into our position. One speed forward. Compression is our deceleration. Okay? And we're prepared there, right at the front. Smooth take up and drive through the stroke. Nice. Yeah. Really good. Good hang. Last part here. Last minute. Really lock it in. The focus we've been working on. Smooth rhythm. Relax the face. Good. Okay, last 30 seconds. Here we go. Hold. Smooth. Hang. Good. Good focus. Nice. Okay. Beautiful. Just right out here. Okay. Okay, just in your own time, just reset your menu. Okay. Save that workout into our memory. We can look back, evaluate. Okay. It's also a good thing, especially with this type of session, to think, okay, how did I feel my levels of intensity were? You know, did you feel any were significantly better than anything else in terms of trying to feel something? You know, because, you know, as I said, once we were going to get up to that last one, to think of that lethargy, you know, like that lethargic sort of feeling of through the stroke, you know, didn't really have like a zing to it. That's where, you know, it might be like, oh, it just felt way too slow. I didn't quite get my feeling, whatever. Or you might have been like, look, it was great because I really felt like I had a nice hang right through, you know, accepting that you're not going to have the speed coming into the handle in a way. Okay, it's really going to feel, you know, like it's coming into us. But, you know, was it the first one, the second one, the third one? You know, did you feel any of them being better than anything else? Because that could be an identification to be like, hey, it's way too heavy for me up here. It just didn't really feel like I was doing it properly. Just felt like I was fucking wearing myself down. So maybe that's not where you go to if you do power strokes by yourself. Okay? You start thinking about it in terms of, well, I'll only go up 2 numbers, or I'll only go up 2.5. And so that's the good part about it, is to just get your own identity around if you're going to use these as part of your own programming in your own time, okay? Otherwise, you know, just have a think, say to yourself, I liked it, didn't like it, it was good, it was great, it was fucking terrible, whatever, okay? We're always learning, we're always trying to figure things out, you know? And plus, because we were trying to have this focus of this part here, you know, to have this hang out of that front, okay? We're combining the pressures to try and artificially help us, you know, to use it as assistance, because that part here around the front, we were going to get onto it quicker, okay, rather than there being sort of too much of a slip with that gear. And that's why it is a good tool to think about and develop our position, okay? And it's hard because, you know, we've got the resistance, our heart rate, our fatigue's going to be up a little bit higher, but there is a reason, okay? And I like to use those power strokes for those 2 reasons, to be able to build a little bit of strength endurance, okay? But also to really start to think about that part there and to use it as that tool to be like, well, it's not moving so fast. I have to be a little bit more patient. I can really start to think about this hang, being left out the front with my arms. And that's why it is a great tool for that specific reason, because of that, okay? So just do a couple more minutes here. I might just increase my pressure slightly. Tell you what, the sweat dripping into my eye didn't help today. But even here now, just even if you can, just go into your fingers out here. Like I spent years and years and years just trying to row into my fingers because I was like, I knew that was going to be the way for me to stop feeling like there was, any type of grab. And so I developed my finger strength, over top of the oar. I still got nice flat palms and stuff like that, but I knew it wasn't going to be horrifically like loaded. If I have to do like real powerful stuff, yeah, they might just go around a little bit more. Thumb underneath might become a little bit more onto the handle, but I'm not trying to choke it to be like I'm feeling my power by how tense or how gripped my handle is, okay? And that's why, trying to stay, taking that fucking contact out, it's terrible. Trying to stay really relaxed in your hands is another check for our relaxation because, when we grip something, right, it's not just the muscles in our hand, it's right up through here, it's right up into here. Like if you grip your hands, you can almost feel like right up and under, starting to engage right up into your biceps and into your pecs and stuff. Definitely through that like forearm contraction. And so that's why if we can just try and hold or think about, as we're rowing along, how relaxed am I in my hands? Because if we're tense in our hands, we're probably tense in the arms. If we've got a decent amount of relaxation in our in our hands, we might not be transferring that through here. And that's why even this rhythm and this flow that we create around the finish, if we're trying to force the handles out, we're starting to push, we can feel our muscles and our shoulder blades and starting to come into the chest to try and do this. Whereas if it's relaxed, and that's why, majority of things that we talk about on here are to try and be efficient, to try and be relaxed, because look at us, we've worked fucking hard and it's hard. Like it's not going to stop being hard, but it's like, can we do it a little bit more efficiently so that it doesn't feel too much? It doesn't feel like we're out of control. We've got control. We're physically like, Jesus, this is hard work, but I'm actually, it's going okay. And that's why we want to try and stay as relaxed as possible for that type of feeling. Okay. Love power strokes. Try to do one of yours once a week, mate. That's great. You'll be doing this later. Perfect. 22 lends itself to internal form and scrutiny. Yes. Yeah, that's why I went to like the 22, because I thought that, you've got a little bit more freedom of movement. We're going to keep it up a little bit. If you try and do that, I've done it many times where I've done that. Oh, I'll tell you what, the ones that used to really fuck me off where we used to do them at like 16 rating, and it was horrific. And I was just like, what are we doing this for? It just doesn't make any sense. And then, managed to try and convince the coach to do 18, and even that felt sucky. And so that's why, we've got to try and have a little bit of freedom, but still be able to gain movement, and that's why I think ideally this is quite a good rating to be able to do it. Ari grip, after years of watching your form, my thumb never even touches the handle. Great. Perfect. Love it. Love to hear it. Yeah, I find you know, my thumb's sort of just under, but it's sort of like that, you know, so it's sort of touching up in there. It's not like my thumb is gripped under so that I could touch my fingers on the other side. But that is something that develops over time. And yeah, and as I say, I'm a big fan of trying to be as relaxed with that grip as possible for that reason. Badger, come here. Come and say hi to everyone. No, he's chasing some birds or something like that. How's Reno going? Neil, slowly but surely. Mate, I'm just trying to get some more money to finish it off. That's how we roll. 22 is the bare minimum for me. Yeah, look, it's the 2022. Yeah, it's I like. I've always been a big fan of thinking. You know, what is our speed that we're trying to do? You know, like what is going to you know, like what is going to be a nice position where we're flowing elastically, you know, flowing with rhythm and that type of thing. And that's why I'm not a big fan of 18, because I feel like it's artificial. I feel like we're trying to control, you know, it's a hard word to use because it does mean a lot of things, and there's some good things about it, but some bad things. Is this rhythm that we're trying to create into the front. So of course, if we're trying to push good numbers, we've got a really good acceleration here, but then we've got this control or this time that we have to, Badger, come here, Badger, or this time that we have to have on the slide coming forward. And I've always found, come here, big guy, hey, come and say hi, look, you're puffing and panting after your big walk, come here and get the cuddles. Hey, you want to get the cuddles with the daddy. The control that we have into that front is something that's, you know, I feel that if it's artificial, if you're like taking too long, then you're sort of slowing down, and then you've like got this more tendency to like reach into the front or to grab into that front rather than sort of just rolling, letting that body compress naturally and do its thing. And so that's why, yeah, I'm a big fan of just keeping it a little bit more free, keeping it a little bit more like tapping it along, that type of thing, because I feel like that's the ultimate way we can do it. Okay. So thanks, team. I just threw something down in the chat for you. I'm going to be doing a little bit of personal analysis on your rowing stroke. It's not completely live yet, but you can have a look on that link and have a look-see. But I'll be doing some. I've figured out that everybody's trying to get form checks from Facebook, and I was like, this is horrific, because I was just watching some stuff, and I was like, mate, fucking hell, holy moly! And the thing is that there's so many ways to skin a cat, right? But also, when we're doing things with our own technique, we've got a current point that we're doing it at. And we can't just throw everything out the window and like try and do it in a certain fashion, because it's going to suck balls for ages, right? We're taking 2 or 3 steps back, and then to get 3 or 4 going forward. And so I just want to help people out with a little bit of form check, get some video from people, give them some tips, some ideas and that sort of thing. So have a nosy at that in the chat. Mantra of the session, acceleration through the stroke. Love the session. It was good to have the same goal stroke rate throughout the piece that helped gauge how I was working in each power stroke. Yes, perfect, Pims. Yeah, and that's it. You know, there's a million types of different workouts we could do with power strokes. You know, we do some, the good power strokes and the high rating stuff is working it up so that we're sort of feeling that resistance while we're trying to and that's creating, you know, resisted speed of our muscles, you know, and trying to boost the muscle generation because of the load that we're producing on it, you know, and that's when we take it off and we're like, fuck, this is quick and this is fast, boom. Whereas this one's really more pinpointed towards us holding our form and holding that feeling, because the heavier the load comes on, the more likely we are to try and, you know, lift into it or grab it at the front more to try and, because it
it's less, we don't have that swing through the stroke. It's like, brrr, and as we would have identified individually through that stroke. And so that's exactly what we want to try and do. And as you say, gaining meters each stroke is being able to see what it's actually doing, that effect that has on us, the slow, like, okay, look, for me to create that same sort of accelerated drive, what does that mean? And obviously in this, it just literally means us adding a little bit more force, because that was the only way. If we're holding that form in the same way, if we just kept holding sort of the same force that we were holding, the stroke would be quite slow and we'd be like feeling like we've only just swung the body and to be finishing. So that's why it's a great tool to hold the form, but also work on ourselves and work on the resistance, that type of thing. Okay. Perfect. Thanks a lot, team. Really good. Great focus. Great work. I'll try and get a little bit of a timetable out for the next little while over this Christmas break. I'm not here next week. I'm away fishing, taking my boy away. I've got an event on. But then the week prior to Christmas, I think is it the 21st or bloody hell, something like that. 22nd, 21st, yes, your time, Sundays. We'll probably be here. Same with possibly, we should be here on the 29th. But then, yeah, maybe I might take the 29th and the 5th off. So we'll wait and see. I'll work it out today or this week, and just keep an eye on the Sensei newsletter or something like that, and we should be all good. Okay. Perfect. Thanks, team. We'll see you guys later on. I'm about to go jump in the pool because it's hot. Keep up the good work. Keep that good training going. Keep on that focus of the technique we're trying to achieve. Okay. Right. Peace out.